welcome to episode 16 of the Coffee, Yarn, and Dinosaurs podcast. My name is Ruth, and I am coming to you from Philadelphia, where I live with my husband, my 2 sons, my daughter, and my brother-in-law. This is a podcast primarily about knitting and crocheting and fiber arts type things, but there's also a section at the end of each podcast where I talk about what I call the bus update. And that means my husband and I are converting a full-length 35-foot bus into a tiny home / RV, and we are going to be moving into it in a couple of months and driving around the country, just exploring and finding out where we want to move to, where we want to live. So if you are here from one of the skoolie sites and you're looking for the bus update, I will put a timestamp in here so you can skip to the end and skip to just the bus update. And if you're here for the knitting and crocheting and spinning and all of that, that's the beginning part of the podcast. And if you are like me and you want a little bit of everything, then you can just watch the whole thing. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Today is Tuesday, maybe March 12th. I want to say March 12th. And this might be a little bit of a fractured podcast because the baby is sort of sleeping right over there. So I'm trying to talk loud enough for you guys to hear and get through this podcast and be quiet enough that she stays asleep. So, I always forget to say this. You can find me online on Instagram. I am Everyday Yarnworks for my knitting and crochet designs, and Fearless Feet Fiber Co. for my hand-dyed yarn. And I'm going to talk a little bit later, hopefully, about why I split that up and why I made the division between the designs and the dyeing. But there I am, I'm in 2 different places. You can find our bus updates on Instagram as Wanda the Bus. And you can find my patterns on Ravelry, and I will link that below in the show notes. So, let's start off with, I keep forgetting to mention, in the Ravelry group, which is my Everyday Yarnworks Ravelry group, just for knitting and designs and pattern testing and all that, we are doing a stash along, which essentially means that you work from the yarn that you already have in your stash. And it's a very open-ended knit along, it's a very open-ended, there's not too many rules. It's basically just if you are interested in working from yarn that you already have, and that's something that is a goal for you, jump into the thread. Give us a shout, let us know how you're doing. There's a couple of us that are counting yardage out for the entire year, or some that are counting skeins out for the month or year or whatever. It's very open-ended, just to chat with others who have similar goals as you and to share our projects with each other. If you're doing it on Instagram, you can use the hashtag CYD for Coffee, Yarn, and Dinosaurs, CYD Stash Along, just to tag your projects with it. Okay, so I think that's the only, Maryland Sheep and Wool. I am heading to the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival in the beginning of May. So if any of you are in the area and you are going, let me know. I'd love to say hi to you. I'd love to say hi to people who watch this podcast and to be able to see you guys all in person. That would be awesome. I have a couple people that I'm already looking to meet up with from Ravelry groups or other podcasters, and yeah, just let me know. So I'm going to start with finished objects because I only really have one, and I don't even have it in my hand because it is the yellow dolphin that I was knitting for my son in the last podcast. And if you remember, there was this whole big ordeal about how we gave away one of his toys that was a dolphin, and he wanted a dolphin, and so I knitted him. The pattern is dolphin, and I will link in the show notes, I will link the actual pattern because there's a bunch on Ravelry that are called dolphin. And I will also insert a picture here of him holding the dolphin, which is the reason why you can't see it right now, because my son Elliot, who it was for, is holding it while he sleeps. So look who showed up, my little co-host. This is Elliot. Oh, can you go get your dolphin so I can show people?
What? Sure.
I want to show people your awesome dolphin.
Yeah.
All right, run, go get your dolphin. Now I'll be able to show you the dolphin. This is great. You did. All right, hang on. We'll be back to the yarn in a minute. Where's your dolphin? Look at that dolphin. He's so big and squishy. Do you like him?
Yeah. Can you say to these people?
Yeah, I'm going to say to these people. So this is Elliot's dolphin that I knit for him. And now you can see what I mean about you knit it in one piece up here, around the nose, and back underneath. And there's the sad little tail I was talking about. Look, it looks like fish flippers. Right, Elle?
Yeah.
He has like a fish tail instead of a dolphin tail. And I don't know if I attached them upside down or what my deal is, but poor little upside down dolphin. So, obviously, in that sense, it's awesome. The kid loves it. He's super happy with it. He was pretty much standing next to me while I stuffed it and finished sewing it up because he was just waiting so anxiously for it, the poor kid. And I finally finished it and finally gave it to him, and he loves it and he plays with it all the time, and he's very happy that he has his yellow and black dolphin. I am glad that he loves it. I think as a pattern, it is not a beginner level pattern. I would not recommend it if you have never knit a stuffed animal before or if you have never knit short rows before, because the designer uses a very creative short row shaping and a very creative way of sort of piecing the entire animal together. There's a little bit of instruction missing, like it's knit in one piece, the top of the body and then the bottom of the body. And from the instructions, I didn't realize that I had to knit fins on the top and on the bottom because the instructions made it sound like you just knit only one set of flippers. So it was very confusing when I went to sew it back up. It's also very vague about the placement of the fin on the back, and you'll see in the picture that I insert, it's also very vague about the tail placement, and I know I did something wrong with the tail because the tail looks like a fish tail, like it's like a limp, instead of being a dolphin tail that's kind of like this, you know, like a V and a pokey shape, it's like just saggy fish tail. So I obviously did something wrong there. I don't really know what it is. Elliot likes it, so you know, hooray. And now I know how to make a fishtail, so that's good. But it's kind of a shame because the designer has a lot of really cute patterns, but this one sort of put me off her patterns a little bit because I know I will probably have to put the same amount of creative thinking and problem solving into working her other patterns. You know, if this one didn't have all the information, maybe that one won't either. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not used to knitting stuffed animals, which is entirely possible, but I don't know. Maybe it's not just me. I don't know. So, yay, finished dolphin. That's good. Not yay, vague instructions. Moving right along to whips. I have quite a few of those. Hang on, I'm gonna go calm down the little one. So, whips. I have a lot of whips right now. Actually, that's not entirely true. I've been pretty monogamous with what I'm working on, and I'll explain to you why in a minute. Let's start with this. In my large Aubrey Ann Sewing Co. bag, which, by the way, her bags are fantastic. I think Carly is probably my favorite bag maker. Her bags are kind of thick and squishy, but they're not too thick, and they're really, really well made, and she chooses very unique fabrics, and she tries to do different things than other bag makers. So you won't see her necessarily ripping off some not necessarily, you won't see her ripping off somebody else's design because she looks at bag making, we've talked about this, she looks at bag making the way I look at designing, which is ask why not, see what you can do that's new, see what you can do that's different. She only has a couple hundred followers on Instagram, which blows my mind because her bags are gorgeous and they're super well made and I just love them. So this is my large Aubrey Ann Sewing Co. bag. I love the animals. They're super cute. And it has this nice thick, what do you call it? Like canvas handle. So if you're grabbing it, it's super sturdy. This thing is never going to come off. This is never going to tear out. It's amazing. I digress. A lot of people who follow my designs have mentioned to me that I have not done a whole lot of crochet designing lately, which is true. I tend to get on sort of a kick one way or the other, knitting or crochet, and I've been on a knitting kick for a while, so I'm trying my best to go back to some crochet design because you guys have been asking for it. So I don't know if oh, you can see both colors. That's excellent. I am currently using, I don't know the name of it. Oh my gosh. Is it Lion Brand? Mandala, the cake yarn. So this is the, I want to say Genie colorway. I'll correct myself on the video if it's not. I'll, add a notation on the screen if it's not. So this is, for those of you who don't know, it's a 100% acrylic yarn that's DK weight, and I firmly believe that acrylic has its place. I don't think that things should only be made out of wool, even though, yes, I know that acrylic is synthetic and it's essentially crocheting or knitting with plastic and all of that. But sometimes I want something that's hard wearing, or in this case, 150 grams of yarn for $5 from Walmart. And it is soft and squishy, and I find it softer than the Karen Cakes yarn. It's also DK weight, which makes it different because you don't find much DK weight yarn in acrylic. Usually I've found that acrylic yarns are somewhere in the worsted to chunky range. So finding a DK weight, nice soft acrylic yarn that's cheap and it has the long color changes that are kind of popular right now, I just thought that it would be good for swatching, and I really liked the colors and I really enjoy working with this. So Karen Cakes. I'm just working on a very simple shawl. It's going to be an increasing, look, it's like a mini shawl. It's going to be an increasing triangular shawl. And this is just the very basicness of it. It's a first swatch. It's a first attempt. I may add in some more fancy stuff, but what I'm shooting for right now is a shawl that is a step above plain, a step above beginner. Maybe if you've never done a shawl in this style before, or I don't know, something like that. Maybe if you're a knitter that's interested in crochet and you don't want to just do straight rows back and forth, you want to do a little something interesting. This is single crochet with a little something fun where the color changes go. So we'll see if I keep going, we'll see if I publish this as a pattern, but it's something I've been working on, and it's Lion Brand Mandala with a J hook. And these are the Clover, what's it called? Amore? Maybe. They're the soft grip hooks with the, yeah, they're the soft grip hooks. And they're a little more expensive than just the regular Bates or Boy hooks, but I like how they feel, and I understand why people make a stink about them, and I feel that it's worth paying $7 for a crochet hook instead of $4 to have one that is smoother and works better and that you enjoy. I only have a couple of them because I've been knitting more than crocheting, so But to me it's the same thing as getting a nice set of needles, like a nice set of sock needles that you really enjoy. It's worth it to have, to me, to have nice tools so you enjoy your project. So that's the first one. And the second project I'm working on, well, I have a hoe. This is my Fearless Feet Fiber Co., so my own hand-dyed yarn, micro striping socks. And I wanted to knit up a sample to show you guys how it works up. So you know when I say micro striping, what you're actually getting when you buy the yarn. And because this is my new BFL sock base, so I wanted to knit with the BFL. Very excited. So it's just toe up. I think it's like 62 stitches or something like that because I cast on an odd number on each side of the toe, so it didn't come out to 64, it came out to 62. Apparently I was having one of those days. So I knit toe up until about 2 inches shy of where I wanted my foot length to be, threw in a short row heel. This isn't going to show because it's in front of my face, or not in front of my face. There we go. Put in a short row heel, and then I did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off. So super basic, nothing too crazy. So that's the first sock. And I have my little ball for the rest of it. Obviously it's not like super fancy. This is just hand wound because the way self-striping yarn is dyed, it needs to be hand wound because the skein is like a bajillion feet long. And you cannot put a skein that's a bajillion feet long onto a Swift and wind it. So I put it on my dining room chairs. It looks really funny, and my kids play like London Bridge underneath of it, and I have to keep them from attacking it, and it's ridiculous. But that way I can wind my yarn. Right now I do not offer winding services for my yarn, but in the future I might, because if you guys are going to end up using it like this anyway in the hand wound ball, I might as well save myself the time of putting it into a skein and save you the time of winding it off of a skein. So maybe in the future I'll offer it as a hand wound ball or as a cake. Let me know if you guys are interested in me offering yarns in a ball or a cake in some form other than a skein. Can you just comment and let me know, because I would love to get that feedback from you guys. So I magic looped these on my Hiya Sharps, and I used a 2.75 millimeter, which is a US 2, which is my standard sock size for needles. And I found that this BFL, it's 400 yards per 100 grams. So that's a little bit on the thicker end of a sock yarn. And usually with size 2s, I get about 8 stitches per inch. So the 32 stitches for 4 inches, which is a pretty normal standard sock gauge for you to see. With this one, I got 7.5 stitches per inch. And it's not much of a difference, but it's just enough that it's a good, I think it's a good thing that I had 62 stitches instead of 64. And maybe if I knit them again, I might go down to 58 stitches, maybe, just to make them a little bit tighter. But other than that, I'm really, really happy with this. So that's those. Where did it go? I have this whole pile of yarn sitting next to me. This is the funny thing about podcasting, is I get all of my stuff ready, and I'm sure other people do this as well. And then I set the camera so that you guys see like my pictures in the background. And that's my pantry, my stand-up pantry. So you see like the painting and the pantry, and you don't see the massive pile of yarn that's sitting right here. Actually, this is really funny. Do you guys want to see it? I'm just going to show you. This is funny. This is what it looks like next to me. And then it's like, come back. Here you go. Here's Ruth podcasting. Now my camera's gonna be all wonky. I'm crooked. All right. And it's like, here I am podcasting. Don't I look so nice and put together? But actually, there's piles of yarn everywhere. Oops. So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, right. So if you guys remember, before my daughter was born, before Joe was born, I was working on a Tin Can Knits Raindrops pullover for her, which is a top-down circular yoke lace pullover. And I'll insert a picture of how far I got. It's pathetic. I got the entire body of it done, and all I had left to do was the sleeves, but I got stuck on Sleeve Island, and I did about a third of one sleeve, and then I just stopped. And I've been going through whips recently and trying to do either a finisher frog type thing, so I can either just get stuff done or frog it or give the yarn away or something, so I'm not stuck with buckets and buckets of whips or lots of half-done things. So I tried pulling the neck opening over Joe's head, and it did not go over her head. So obviously I frogged it. And it's very sad to me. Actually, here's the funny thing. This is all that it took. This is all the yarn it took for most of a pullover minus the sleeves for a 3-month-old. So I have 2 cakes of my yarn. And this is gorgeous yarn, which is part of why I frogged it instead of just maybe making the sweater for somebody else, which might sound a little bit selfish, but the yarn is absolutely gorgeous, and I do want her to have a raindrops pullover in this yarn. I'm just gonna have to reknit it in a bigger size. And I was thinking, sneaky, maybe I'll just make it a short-sleeved sweater because spring is coming. Genius. And then I won't have to knit sleeves. Right? So this yarn is Bad Wolf Girl Studios, whatever she calls her sparkle base, it might just be sparkle, and it is the Galaxy LMC colorway. So I believe it's something like 70% superwash, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina or something like that. It looks exactly like Knit Pick Stroll Glimmer, which I'm pretty positive that it is Knit Pick Stroll because I have dyed on Knit Pick Stroll, and I'm pretty positive that that's where a couple of other dyers get their yarn from. So I'm not trying to out dyers or anything like that. I'm just saying if I'm pretty positive this is Knit Pick Stroll, I'm going to tell you I'm pretty positive it's Knit Pick Stroll because that's what I think it is. So I'm pretty sure it's Stroll Glimmer, which is 462 yards per 100 grams. So it's a lightweight fingering weight yarn, and it's a fairly low twist yarn, so it'll be great for a sweater, and it's really good for shawls. I really like doing shawls in this yarn. It's a little less awesome for socks because socks wear harder, so they need a slightly higher twist, or maybe a fiber that's not merino, which I am learning after designing socks in Knit Pick Stroll. But anyway, you live and you learn, passing on information. So I frogged these, and I'm going to start again and knit one for her in the next size up. And I'll have to see what that is. We'll see. The next thing, I feel like this is kind of silly. I'm crowdsourcing my decision making right now. So the next project is my So Faded pullover, and I'm not really feeling it because I'm at the point where I'm about to divide for the sleeves. Like, I'm almost done. I only have a couple more increase rounds, and then I would divide for the sleeves and, you know, just start knitting the body. And speckled yarns are great, but my concern is that I'm afraid that I wouldn't actually wear the sweater, partially because it's coming out as such a lightweight fabric. I'm sort of wondering under what circumstances would I actually wear it. So my question for you guys is, if you have knit a So Faded sweater, or even if you've knit another fingering weight sweater, do you find that you wear it? Do you find that it's useful, or is it something that you have to plan really intentionally to wear? Because I want something that's going to be functional. If I'm going to spend my time making a sweater, I want one that I'm going to wear all the time. So give me your information, because I'm considering frogging it. as part of my whole finish and frog thing. I'm considering frogging it. I'm not sure if I want to keep going or not. And I'd just love some feedback from you guys. I would love to know if you have knit a sew faded or some kind of fingering weight sweater. Do you find it's functional? I would like to know, do you enjoy wearing speckled yarns in a garment like this? Do you enjoy wearing a speckled sweater? Because I'm afraid it's gonna look sloppy, while we're being honest and keeping it real. I'm afraid that the speckles are gonna look sloppy. And I'm afraid that it's gonna kind of look like a kid wearing a tie-dyed t-shirt instead of a grown woman wearing a hand-knit sweater. So, you know, I have my concerns and I'm not sure. And while I'm working on it, I keep thinking of all of the pairs of socks that this could be and how they would be really pretty socks or a pretty shawl or something. Enough about the sew faded. That's just gonna go back in the corner where it has been sitting. And then my last whip, which is super exciting. It's almost an FO, you guys. I've been working on these so faithfully, and I'll explain to you why. So I am participating in something called Sock Madness, and Sock Madness is a Ravelry group sort of challenge that revolves around the same time frame as the March Madness, the college basketball tournament here in the US. And essentially it's a speed knitting sock knitting, let me try that again, a sock speed knitting competition based on Ravelry. So right now it's in the qualification rounds. And for the qualifier, everybody gets a sock pattern and you all have to knit the same pattern and you have to show, that's what these markers are for, you have to mark the pattern repeats and show that you have knit it to the correct length. And you have to knit a pair, for these ones for the qualifier, it's just this pair of socks in 2 weeks, which is a very generous period of time to knit socks. So this pattern, I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong. It is called Fée Draguet by Kawa Coffee. And I love it. It looks like a very basic sock. And I kind of, you can see there's a broken rib texture all over it. This is a really pretty slip stitch and there's a rolled cuff at the top and a heel flap and gusset. And I was not sure that I would like these. When the pattern came out, I looked at it and was like, oh, they put out one and I don't know if I like it. And I guess I'll knit it because I want to do Sock Madness, but am I really going to speed knit ugly socks? And it's so squishy. So I am using, for the dark color, oh good, you can see the brown. It is Knit Pick Stroll in the Fedora colorway. As I'm telling you that Stroll is not a good sock yarn, I have so much of this brown Fedora colored Stroll. It is ridiculous because I bought it to make a baby blanket and then ended up not. So I had like 2,400 yards of this stuff, guys, and it's so dark that people think it's black and it looks black and it's sometimes hard to see the stitches while I'm knitting, which is why this is taking me longer. It's absurd. But anyway, the green, oh, I brought an extra skein over so I could show you because I just have extra skeins of this lying around the house because there's so much. So this is Knit Pick Stroll. Let's hold it over here so it doesn't blow out. Ah, the glare. Stroll in Fedora. Now I'm covering the words. That's not helpful to anybody. That's a 50-gram ball, which is how it comes. And the green is Yarn Cafe Creations. Is this upside down? Yes, it is. Yarn Cafe Creations fluffy sock in her apple colorway. And I'm pretty sure this is Stroll also, which is why I chose it. So, right, so I have the first one done. And the second one, I'm almost completely through the heel flap. So I have to do maybe 5 to 10 more rows on the heel flap. I think it's 5. I have to do about 5 more rows on the heel flap, turn the heel, and knit the foot and the toe by Thursday at noon. And today is Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So I have the rest of the day today, so that's like half a day. Half a day Thursday. and tomorrow. So essentially in 2 days or less, I have to knit half a sock on size 1 needles at a 72 stitch count. Stay tuned. I have no idea if I can actually do this. I think I can. I'm not 100% positive. I usually knit on US 2s, but the gauge the pattern calls for, I needed to switch down to a size 1. So I'm using my size 1 high sharps. And the reason I use these is because they have a very smooth join and I magic loop. And also because I think they're the only size 1s that I have. So even if I wanted to use a different needle, this is pretty much what I've got. So I really like the pattern. We'll see. Hopefully I can keep doing Sock Madness and keep you guys posted, because that would be awesome. I would really enjoy that. And also, side note, I put on the first sock and it fits so well. I love it. It's possibly the most comfortable sock that I've ever knit. And I will definitely make this again, just not in dark brown yarn. And if I try it again, I will probably do the smaller size with larger needles. So instead of doing a 72 stitch sock on US 1s, I will probably do the 64 stitch sock on US 2s. And the only reason why I usually do a 64 stitch sock. I mean, you saw this one's 62 stitches. So you can see the difference in the gauge. If I hold them up next to each other, it becomes very obvious that the stitches on this sock are much bigger than the stitches on that sock. You can see the difference just looking at them. And I have a feeling that this sock will hold up better because it's at a tighter gauge, so there's less chance for the fibers to rub together and felt, but it is much easier on my hands to knit with a 2. So I've ordered a US 1.5, hoping to split it down the middle, and it's here, but I don't know where it is. I ordered a Knit Pro Zing fixed circular. And I'm not sure how happy I'm going to be with it because it seems like it's a little bit of a blunt needle and I prefer a sharp needle. So we'll see. We'll see. So these are my Fade de Grey by Cow Coffee, my Sock Madness socks. So let's see. That is it for whips. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. I have one more thing. I always do this, you guys. I always think I'm done and then I'm not. My other whip is my Carrie slipper socks that I am making for my friend who redesigned a logo for me. She does hand lettering and she redesigned my Everyday Yarnworks logo, which you will be seeing all over things in a little bit. And she wears a US Women's 11. So this is Knit Picks Brava. Again, you can't see the label. It's Knit Picks Brava Bulky, which is 100% acrylic, 136 yards per 100 grams. And I mentioned in the last podcast, I really like using acrylic yarn for slipper socks because I find in general that it wears harder on hardwood floors, which is what my friend has. So if you, side note, she also has an Etsy shop, which is awesome. She does this really cute hand lettering, like the signs you see in people's houses and you go, where did they get those little signs that they put everywhere? Ta-da! So her Etsy shop is Hand Lettering by Jeanette, and I will put a link on there. She did a really cute drawing for me and she did my logo, and it's totally worth checking out because it's adorable. So I'm halfway done with that, and now that's all of my whips. So I did fiber share this year. Well, this month, quarter, I don't know. For those of you who don't know, fiber share is an it's an Instagram-based yarn and fiber swap. So essentially what you do is you sign up via a website, and however long after, maybe a couple weeks, depending on when you sign up, you will get an email assigning you a person to send yarn to. And you commit to send at least 100 grams of yarn, 200, maybe it's 200. You commit to send at least 200 grams of yarn by a certain date. and somebody else commits to send yarn to you. And you get to put in the email a little bit about your preferences. Do you like natural fibers? Do you like synthetic fibers? All of that. Do you knit? Do you crochet, spin, whatever? So that way, if you're a spinner, you can be paired up with someone who will send you fiber for spinning. Or if you're a knitter, they'll send you knitting geared things. I don't know. Anyway, so I put down knitting, and I was matched with a lovely lady who likes to help people explore different breeds of sheep and different breeds of yarn. And I was so excited because I want to know about different breeds of yarn. So when I heard her say that, I was like, right on. I would love to learn about different breeds of sheep. I would love to try different breeds of yarn. Yes, please. Let's go for it. Send me different breeds of yarn. Can I tell them about the yarn?
Yeah.
Do you want to hold it and squish it?
Yeah.
Is it so squishy?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is called Cormo. And good job. And so that's a 2-ply worsted weight. Yeah, see, you can see him doing it. It's so squishy. And is it soft?
Yes, but what does this make? With an orange dinosaur?
An orange dinosaur? You think this would be a good dinosaur?
Yes. Can I talk to people a little bit?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey people, I got this yarn, and this one a big dinosaur.
He thinks it would be a great dinosaur. So we have this one, the Cormo, and then let's see. Oh, can you show them this one?
Yeah.
Show them this one. What
Sure.
color? What color is that?
Purple.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to have a green triceratops.
A green triceratops. So this is 100% BFL from Sun Valley Fibers, and it says from our farm to your hands. So I assume that means that this is a sheep farm and they have their fleeces processed and they dye them and sell them, which is pretty epic. Wait a minute, please. And it is in the colorway Jester, which is this beautiful royal purple. Let's do the next color. You ready?
Yeah.
Here, hold up this one.
Hey guys, this is blue. Now, this is going to be a brontosaurus.
Oh, a brontosaurus. This one should be a brontosaurus. So this is Frolicking Feet sock yarn, hand painted. The company is Done Roving. And this is a, let's see what it says on here. It says 100% domestic superwash merino. I don't know what domestic means. I know what domestic means. Wait a minute. I don't know what it means with regards to sheep. I'm assuming that it means that it's local to them and not from, a lot of merino is from South America or Australia or something like that. So I assume that means, it says made in Maine. So I assume that means that the sheep are local to them in Maine.
Can you say to this too?
We're not going to do that one. We already showed that one. And then the next two, hold these up.
So guys, these are green and black.
Yeah.
This is going to be
What kind of dinosaur?
a fishy dinosaur and
A black dinosaur?
and a black dinosaur named a T-Rex.
Oh, a T-Rex. Okay, black one should be T-Rex. So these are both Ba Yarn Sonoma, and they are a DK weight 100% superwash merino. And this colorway is Tequila Lime. And this one is...
Wait.
Hang on, let me read.
Let me show it to this.
Say this is called Obsidian.
Hey guys, this is obsidian.
Obsidian, yes.
And this is going to be a big triceratops.
Yeah. So I'm thinking these two would look great together in a design. Obviously with the socks, I've got the green and brown on the mind. It says it's black, but it has a little bit of a brown tint to it. Thank you for showing, buddy. And then the last two, these are acquisitions. So this one is Must Stash Yarn in the colorway Kama Sutra.
And this is Caracia.
And this one is Malabrigo in the Solus colorway, Malabrigo sock. So the mustache one is her perfect match self-striping. So this, wait a minute, so this is actually two 50-gram skeins that are twisted around each other. And so you will get perfect matching self-striping socks. If you knit from these, you just knit from one 50-gram skein and then the other one. So it's got a whole lot of colors. And this is 75-25 superwash merino and nylon. And it's 460 yards per 100 grams. And this was just an acquisition. It was just something, I broke my yarn diet. And this, the Malabrigo sock was, if you remember, last time I said I knit that gigantic heart pillow for the palpitation knit along. This was my prize for having the biggest one. So podcasts that I've been watching that I want to recommend to you guys. The first one is the Knitters Party podcast, and that is Megan. She's one of my testers, actually. She's tested a pair of socks for me before, and she just moved to Cairo in Egypt. So that's really neat because she talks about finding yarn shops in Egypt and what they're like, and it's very interesting, and the weather and just living in Egypt as an American, it's very cool. So check her out. I'm always watching Squirrel Pie Productions, which is Tommy. She's very fun to watch. I really enjoy it. And I'm also watching her because she's doing a lot of baby knits right now. So she's doing a kid along, which is knitting for kids along because she's pregnant. So Squirrel Pie Productions, if you haven't heard of her, go check her out. And I just found within the last 2 days, the first one is Very Little, which is Marsha. And she, I don't know if she has an Etsy shop. I know she dyes yarn. I'm not sure if she sells it. But she just has different projects than I see on most podcasts. So you don't necessarily see all of the fade projects, or she doesn't have, I don't know, every tin can knits project from what I've seen. Maybe she does. But she's also a designer. And I love watching designer podcasts, so that's neat. And then the last one I just saw today is Earth Tones Girl. And Earth Tones Girl is Denise in New York. And she was talking, it's very interesting because the end of her most recent podcast, she was talking about just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Like, she was sewing a bag that is very similar to those Fringe Supply Co. bags that everybody is buying. And I've noticed a lot of bag makers are making what essentially amounts to a knockoff of the Fringe Supply Co. bag. And she's making one too, but she's making it for herself. She's not making it to sell, and she's intentionally not selling them because it's the same style as the Fringe Supply Co. bag. And I found that very refreshing. I think there's a lot of people who are just trying to profit off of the next big trend as much as they possibly can. And at one point I was there too, and I'm not anymore, which is why I appreciate it. But she's making cool things for the experience and for the making of it, not necessarily for profit, which I think is really neat. And the last one, I think I already said the last one, is My So-Called Handmade Life. And I do not remember what her first name is. I'll put it down right there. But she was talking about slow living, which reminded me of our bus adventure in the making. And she was talking about slow living in the sense of being intentional about what you do with your day and with your time and with your things. And going through the house and clearing things up, or taking a walk every single day, or spending less time looking at a screen, which is ironic since I'm talking to you on a screen. But very cool, very interesting podcast. I will link all of them, and I would encourage you to check them out. If some of them are newer podcasters, so there's not a whole lot of episodes, but I think that's part of the fun, is finding people when they're just starting out and carrying on. So I'm not going to do the bus update because Mr. Dinosaur right here is awake, and the baby is probably going to be awake soon. So we'll probably end up doing a separate bus update video, but at least I'll be able to get this out to you guys. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions about anything I said in this video, I love to hear from you guys. I love to chat with you. Please feel free to drop a comment here on YouTube or message me on Instagram or Ravelry or whatever. I'm online a lot, so yeah, feel free to get in contact whatever way is easiest for you. Thank you for watching.
We forgot to talk about
I
this.
didn't forget. I was finishing up my stuff so then you can finish up your stuff. And now it's time for the dinosaurs.
Okay, I'll talk to people. So guys, I got this dinosaur right here. His name is what? I don't know what his name is. What his name is? His name is Go for T-Rex. That's what his name is.
Did you say his name is Frog T-Rex?
Yeah, for T-Rex.
You're awesome, Al.
And so guys, this thing belongs to me. And the other T-Rex is gone. Now, go play toys. Can I finish doing this for a minute?
So, oh, careful. Just put his hand in my coffee.
Hey guys, all of these cars will be dinosaurs. This is T-Rex and Triceratops and Brontosaurus and T-Rex and then Triceratops.
Yeah. Can you sit?
Okay, back again.
You're back again.
Yay.
Elliot loves knitted things. This octopus I knit for him, I don't know, a couple of years ago. And this is I don't remember what the pattern name is. But anyway, it's a huge octopus. Look how big. It's a gigantic octopus. It's perfect for putting on people's heads. Playing peekaboo. This is a very well-loved octopus. And he is knit out of Lion Brand Pound of Love. 2 strands held together.
And
Oh, it's Opus. Opus the octopus